Hey, hello. This is a presentation from the Queers for Justice Coalition from the Newburgh LGBTQ Center to address policing in the city of Newburgh and ways that we can defund and divest money from the police force and into the community. So benefits of defunding the police would be cutting down a reasonable percentage of the government money towards the police force and instead focusing that money on community resources such as job training, counseling, and violence prevention programs. And this divestment would directly go towards more effective preventative measures that ensure safety and well-being of the community, as well as decrease in violent crime in that area because of those resources.
So every year, the Newburgh City budget is proposed by the city manager, and the city council reviews it. And then after review and modifications, the budget's submitted to the city council for another review before the budget gets finalized. And the timeline of the budget approval process begins in August when the department requests are submitted to the Office of the Comptroller. And then in September 20th through 30th, there are 2022 budget work sessions. And then on October 12th, the proposed budget was presented. And then on November 8th, there was a public hearing on the 2022 budget. And then on November 22nd, there was a council meeting to adopt, or there will be a council meeting to adopt the 2022 budget with more public hearings. And much of the budget size and expenditures are determined by the assessed value of taxable properties in the city of Newburgh. And the sum of assessed value for these properties, including both homestead and non-homestead properties, is over $1 billion, which is a 9% increase from the previous year. And also almost a third or 28% of the budget's general fund is being allocated to the police department under the subsection of the public safety expenditure group. And some of the money in the public safety expenditure group is being allocated to fire safety, but much of this 28%, much of this public safety expenditures are funding the carceral system, which is that 28% going to the police department, which does bring a lot of harm to the community, who are also the taxpayers who are funding these expenditures. Yeah.
So now we're going to talk about some specifics of the changes between the 2021 budget in the city of Newburgh to the 2022 proposed budget. So the police department is scheduled to have over $15 million going to it. The police department is the largest section of the Newburgh city budget and has consistently been so. The next largest section of the budget is the fire department, which is over $12.5 million. And then the next lowest section after that is quite a bit lower. So as you can see, like the police, quite a lot of money goes to the police department. The police department is scheduled to increase by 3.59% in 2022, adding $500 and some thousand. Last year's police department budget was a little bit less than $15 million. Some other major increases in the budget from 2021 to 2022 are listed here. I'm not going to read through all of them, but you can see that there are some things, and specifically the things that are highlighted in orange are going to the police department, but are not also part of the over $15 million that is like specifically for the police department. So this is additional money. And on this list, that is the police garage. And then on this list, the courthouse officers and the police community relations board is a little bit more complicated. They're also getting money. This is a civilian review board of the police, which has a lot of good, and it is also still part of the police system, and so still is like giving money towards the police. And also the civilians in the police community relations board don't necessarily have power. It's police who in the end like ultimately make the decisions of the things that are brought up in that space. So while it has benefits to it, it is also like still adding to the police department, and it's increasing in the budget from 2021 to 2022. And then here are some major decreases in the budget from 2021 to 2022. Again, I'm not going to read through all of them, but you can see that most of them are focused on like physical maintenance of the city, such as snow removal, street lighting, parks, things that the city physically needs, but the money is decreasing for next year.
So this is a little bit of the history of Newburgh policing. This is specifically one incident of police violence that's like, I think, indicative of like the larger history of like the violence carried out by the police in the city of Newburgh and like in the entire country. So in 2020, in March of last year, the police shot and killed 27-year-old Tyrell Fincher, who's also known as Rex. And the Orange County grand jury decided not to file charges against the 3 police officers who shot Rex, as well as the sergeant nearby who witnessed the shooting. In a separate investigation conducted by the Orange County District Attorney's Office in conjunction with the police, they concluded that the officers' actions were justified under New York State penal law. And like, despite this violence and this incredibly long history of violence, the budget for the police department continues to increase, as Josie just mentioned. And this kind of highlights how police reform is a false promise of change, which requires more money to be put, which requires that the budget increase the amount of money that it goes to the police department, and which only further fuels the police department and further threatens the community. Yeah.
So in conclusion, the city of Newburgh has the highest incarceration rate anywhere in Orange County. It also has the highest unemployment rate of any city in the county, and the highest homeless rate anywhere in the county. Yet the city of Newburgh continues to increase the budget of the police department instead of providing for its community. Providing funding towards affordable housing programs and job readiness programs will not only save the taxpayers' money, but also make the community safer. In recent history of police violence, not only in the city of Newburgh, but all over this nation, has proven time and time again that policing will not solve social issues. Creating a fair and equitable budget does not mean having the police department controlling almost a third, about 28% of the budget, while education, road safety, housing, and job programs lack funding and institutional support.
So there are some ways that we can advocate for changing the amount of money that the police department has in Newburgh, which can include attending public budget hearings like the one that's upcoming on Monday, November 22nd, and speaking in support of funding community programs other than the carceral system. Another way to be helpful is to stay informed, to continue to self-educate and educate others on the harm that's caused by the carceral system. And then, in order to do that, we've attached a few resources that are available. The first 2 are Angela Davis resources. The first is Our Prison's Obsolete, which is one of her books, and then a video on the fallacy of prison reform. And then there's also a kind of compilation of readings and resources on abolition and reproductive justice that was compiled by the Young Women of Color Reproductive Justice organization. And yeah, thank you for watching this presentation.